Cape has just released Arc 9 Chapter 21, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. Highly recommend you check out my Arc 9 Chapter 20 summary. Anyways, let's begin. Domain expansion, matrix redefinition. The situation shifts moment by moment. His authority could not rewind time by a lot. However, he grasped this to obtain victory. Domain expansion, matrix redefinition. Step by step, he confirms every outcome and seizes control of the battlefield. Domain expansion, matrix redefinition. Many strong opponents march forward without hesitation. The same is for strategists. Domain expansion, matrix redefinition. They had to seize a single gamble. However, Aldebaran could see both outcomes to the choices. This was something only afforded to him. They would find it cowardly. Let them spit and cuss at him. Domain expansion, matrix redefinition. Through this method, he would steal victory, no matter what. At the very least, I would like to see some charm. Like a pig begging for food. The pigman joked, despite being lacerated by steel wires. Even though he was wounded and bound, he did not give up. Al says that even if he isn't afraid of death, there's still pain. But the pigman says that both death and pain are the same, and he fears neither. The wires coiled around his neck, preventing him from breathing, and then he fell down. All of the men brought were defeated. It took 23,008 attempts. This was one of the most grueling battles, mainly due to Aldebaran's lack of talent. The pigman collapsed, but his fist held him up. Despite being knocked out, his pride prevented his head from touching the floor. We see that Aldebaran is being praised by Ye. Al was using the steel wire technique. It took 20,000 loops to truly learn how to use the ability. Ye says that she hasn't seen anyone else use the ability. Al says that using one single steel thread is using all of his muscle strength, yet Ye has numerous threads and can use them with 10 fingers all at once. Al asks if Ye is made of muscles, and Ye says that she's given Al chances to see what's under her uniform, but he turned her down. And Al says he wants to keep the ring which holds the steel thread. He wants to hold on to it for a bit longer. We see that Al had the ring on his ring finger. He didn't like that, since it may have been for a sentimental reason. Al checked on Heinkel, who was useless, but he knocked out some of the soldiers and he destroyed their communication mirrors. Heinkel was useless versus some types of opponents. For Ye, that person would be Aldebaran, and for Aldebaran, well, it didn't matter. Heinkel asks what the hell Al is. After all, the pig guy was way stronger than Al, yet Al won without any issue. Ye then cuts in, saying that Al is a monster. Ye continues, saying that they're travelling with a monster. Heinkel doubts it since he's travelled with monstrous people. Ye cuts him off, saying that there's a difference between people who seem monstrous and who are actual monsters. Al tells him to stick to the plan. Ye is crowd control and Heinkel destroys the communication mirrors, and Al deals with the strong people. Ye moved her hands, hanging the pig guy up like a trophy. His body was fully on display. Al couldn't take risks, he couldn't hold back. There was many more tough enemies left. Ye then tells Al that if he removes one more restriction, she can help. Heinkel was weak because he had the inability to act, but Ye's restriction was that she couldn't kill people. Al refused. But Ye planted the thought in his head. He could end this a lot sooner if only he gave up on his ideals. Ye says that they can escape south, but Al says that he will defeat Felt here, before proclaiming they were born under the wrong star. The scene changes. Old Man ROM's dialogue mirror broke, signifying that the Boar King was defeated. It was as if Al was countering their plans before they even happened. The Pig King was a strong foe, and if he was born 10 years earlier during the Demi-Human War, he would have been a useful asset, albeit the outcome of the war would not have changed. The Pig King would have died to the Sword Saint or to the Sword Demon. Was Ao truly a Sword Saint level threat? No, Ao didn't have the aura of invincibility. Old Man ROM had partaken in many fights over the years. Ao acts like he had sort of foreseen everything. ROM then calls out a command, firing a signal into the air. This cleared the skies and made everything bright. It created an illusion in the sky, making it so that if Aldebrand was watching from above to gather information, it would no longer be allowed since the illusion would block everything. At the same moment, Old Man ROM's dialogue mirror broke, signaling that Ao has attacked the next squadron. ROM directs commands, saying to push Ao back. He analyzes the situation, going over every possibility that there could be. Ao's fighting style means that he doesn't have a spirit. ROM then asks them to fire projectiles and magic stones. This is to reveal if Ao has multiple divine blessings. Usually some people only have one, but some people may have more than one. Currently, there only exists 2 people in the world with more than one divine blessing at once. The first is of course Sword Saint Reinhard, and the second is of course the Mad Prince. Ao noticed that the battlefield changed. The enemies no longer tried to kill him, they were probing for information. If Ao took a different action, the person with the dialogue mirror would also change. Every attack on him would test something. Some attacks would just simply graze him. Ao wonders if he has to reset the sequence due to a small scratch. The shattered mirrors continued. The members of ROM's team followed his commands without any argument. Mana stones were deposited to make the environment toxic to spirits, so spirits weren't being used by Aldebrand. A multitude of attacks were used to decipher any divine blessings, however nothing came up. The final possibility was an authority. The scene changes. The battlefield shifted. Ao realizes the old man has realized he has an authority. Ao had stacked numerous matrices in his domain to overcome his disadvantage. Old Man ROM had come close to deciphering it. Just like Ezokadna, a sharp mind might be able to figure out the authority. However, even if you figured out the authority, it would be very hard to stop it. Ezo, for example, flooded the Pleiades watchtower with water. It was effective, but they couldn't currently do that now because they were in a forest and it was an open space. However, still, doubt crept in Aldebrand's chest. After all, why was a commander of the Demi-Human War still alive and kicking with felt? Ao felt resentment. The scene changed. Old Man ROM was sure that Ao had an authority, something held by the witches, something that distorted the world itself. He knew of Sphinx, a successor of a witch, yet she lamented that she could not utilize the same authority. Old Man ROM narrowed Ao's authority to either short-term future sight or mind reading. The reason why ROM knew that it wasn't mind reading is because ROM gave 2 squadrons 2 separate commands. The first squadron was to walk past Ao's group, but not attack. The second group was going to attack Ao's group. If Ao could read minds, he would have simply known to not attack the first group, as they weren't going to attack him at all. But Ao actually attacked the first group, and as a result was attacked by the second group immediately after, so he had to fight 2 separate groups at once. Even if ROM figured it out, how was he supposed to counter it? The scene changes. Gaston, one of the 3 thugs, charged at Ao. He knew from ROM that apparently Ao knew things before they would actually happen. Gaston says they simply need to make it so that even if he knew what would happen, he wouldn't be able to do anything in response. Gaston punched Ao, but an earthen wall blocked it. Ao then made earth gauntlets for his hands and punched Gaston. Gaston did a backflip kick, but Al was not hit, he simply dodged, and Gaston's body was held in place by the leg. We see that Al had a steel-threaded wire that latched onto Gaston's ankle, immobilizing him in place. Al runs away, telling Heinkel to deal with Gaston. As Heinkel approached Gaston, Gaston swerved and punched Heinkel, then broke free and ran to Al, but Al dodged the full body tackle. Gaston falls to the floor. We see that his ankle is shredded and he can barely support his own weight. Al is shocked that Gaston is fighting in such a condition. Gaston stands up, blood gushing, stating that he has a reason to fight, men he admires, a woman he loves. Al and his group don't even look like they want to fight, but Gaston and his men are giving their all. They fight with pride. Gaston launched forward, but Al dashed forward at the exact same time, knocking Gaston out. Al states that that one hit him. Gaston didn't understand and he fell to the floor unconscious. The scene changed. At the end of his vision, a light flashed. It was a meteor, the Star Staff. Weaker than the Al chariot, which could slay even a dragon, the light followed Al no matter what he did. Al tried every defensive maneuver, but he would always be damaged. He tried one last thing though. He pushed Heinkel into the attack that could silence a dragon. It hit Heinkel, and Heinkel screamed out in pain and fell to his knees. He was unnaturally resilient. The final of the three thugs appeared, the dwarf man. He was holding the staff, blood pouring from his nose. Al realizes that the dwarf man took a drug. The drug was called Hexal. It was illegal and it made one's gait hyperactive, which would make it generate more mana. He was essentially a walking corpse, gaining the qualification to fire the Star Staff using drugs. Alden asks him why, and he says that he's fighting with everything he has. The dwarf man tries to fire the staff again, but it backfires and scorches him, and he falls unconscious. The witch who made the staff built in a safety mechanism which would prevent kids from using it, but this sort of result showed that the witch did not have a human heart. A human woman rushes forward and grabs the small man. Al says that he won't kick a man when he's down and says he needs 6 days. Not that they will believe him. The woman jerks her chin forwards, telling Al to go. Al turns and runs, but shortly after a metallic sound rings out and Al turns back and sees that the woman got knocked out by Ye. An iron fang drops to the floor and Ye picks it up and smells it, stating that it was a fast-acting poison and that the woman was trying to kill Al. But then goes on to say, well, it doesn't really matter how many times Al dies. Ye, Heinkel, who was of course burned, and Al move forwards, locking eyes with the final opponent, Old Man ROM. It took 29,221 attempts to make it back to the plains where everything began. The scene changes. Al discusses history with Old Man ROM. A clan wiped out because they liked dragon meat. A witch who went berserk because she was mad. Elves getting caught up by the Witch of Envy, saying that the world is a messed up place. Rom says that Al knows about history despite being very young, and then says that Al is friendly with the Witch of Envy, and then Al says, don't make me sick. Being close to the Witch of Envy was either a joke or an insult. Aldebaran refused to ignore it. Al says that the witch hates him. They never even locked eyes once. And Old Man ROM says locking eyes with the witch sounds grim. Al then asks where Felt is, and Rom says Felt is gone because she's valuable. Al clicked his tongue. Rom says that Al took down 500 people at once, and Al says it's a lot less than what Old Man ROM took during the Demi-Human War. After all, Al had not taken a single life, and he made sure of it. He didn't want anyone to be lost from the world that she loved, with the exception of Natsuki Subaru. Rom says Ao can't stand people dying in front of him anymore. Ao is shocked. Rom states that Flam and Ezo are alive, meaning Ao didn't kill them. Rom then lifts up his final mirror, and in the mirror we can see Felt. Felt followed Ao the entire time, freeing and releasing all of the individuals that could fight. Ao is then asked if he can fight 100 people right now. Ao did see this coming, and he made sure to break people's limbs so that they were incapacitated. But Rom said all he has to do is feed them Hexor so that they could be drugged up and fight without feeling pain. Ao says it's fine, he will do it again. And then Rom says, I see, this is a new conversation for you. Ao froze. For a second, Rom's presence before him was more dangerous than the Sword Saint. Ao calls to Ye, and Ye jumps forward. We see that Manfred of the Scales was lying in wait, using the curse of compulsion to bind Ye, but Ye cuts through it. Manfred also possesses the blessing of Farsight, which allowed him to notice Ye. Ao then mutters, disciples of Typhon. Grassis jumps out and kicks Ye, but Ye blocks it and darts backwards, grabbing Heinkel and throwing him into the forest. We see that Heinkel is still out of action. Ao then redefines his matrix, and Rom makes a slight move with his mouth. Ao notices that Rom is eating Hexor, the drug. A giant hand lashes out at Ao, who stumbles back and lands on his butt. Heinkel then calls out to Ao and points to the sky. The sky's illusion magic disappears, and Rom says, it's time. Rom figured out Ao's authority. It wasn't simply seeing the future. That would be hard since everyone's actions would change every time you made a decision. So there could be infinite futures. It was more like picking a choice, seeing the result, and then going back to the starting point. Rom didn't know the name of it, but it was a cheat he had to stop. There was a weakness, however. If Ao could repeat things, then he would have to make it so that he wouldn't come across Rom and the others. Or he could have avoided Reinhard entirely, meaning that Ao could only use his cheat during gaps in fighting, and it's only for short periods of time. And this is where the trap would be. The trap involved the divine dragon Volcanica. We see that the illusion is still up, and it's being formed by Rom's mana, because he used the drug, Hexel. Rom states that the dragon was called back, and due to the sky illusion in place by Rom, the divine dragon wouldn't know where the enemies are, causing Ao and Rom to be caught in the crossfire. The divine dragon, who's of course Ao, is charging up a divine dragon breath at the field, but of course because there's an illusion, he doesn't exactly know where the enemies are. Rom grabs Ao, preventing him from escaping, and the divine dragon fires at Ao, and Ao and Rom are burned to a crisp. At least that should have happened, but a blinding light attacked Volcanica and knocked the shot across the map, and it did not hit Ao and Old Man Rom. We see that this was caused by Felt, who was holding the Star Staff. With tears in her eyes, she calls Old Man Rom an idiot. We see that it was Felt who dealt the final blow to Old Man Rom. And with that, the chapter ends. Well, quite a good chapter. By the way, I'm pretty sure that, you know how we talk about Aldebrand's authority, where it sort of has like two modes? I don't think it's like random. I think Ao does choose. But Ye mentions that it doesn't matter how many times Ao dies. So I'm pretty sure Ye, when Ao used his authority on Ye, I'm pretty sure it was the one where Ye killed Ao, and then Ao would just respawn and it would just keep repeating until Ye was mind broken. Kind of like what happened to Priscilla's husband, Leap Bariel. So, yeah. Anyways, that was an amazing chapter. I look forward to seeing what you think. Let me know.